Hello, hello. I'm T, your joyful parent guide and harmonizer, and I am coming in this morning with tip number 2 from Aletha Solter's Raising Drug-Free Kids. And the tip is that genetics does not equal destiny. Now, we all know this, but I want to highlight a few things for you. We all have heard about Darwin, but it turns out that there was a guy named Lemarck who came along 50 years before Darwin, and he had this idea, and I have it all written out here for myself. He had this idea that traits that we acquire through our life experience can be passed along to the next generation. And there's a whole field called epigenetics that really relates to this, and there is real truth to it, and we still have a lot to learn. Okay, but I want to give an example of this, and it's not a science lesson, and I'm not sure about the exact science of this, but when my boys were born, they both had blue eyes. Most babies have blue eyes, but they continue. One has green eyes and one has blue. Now, I have brown eyes. You can see my husband's eyes are darker brown than mine. And so it was kind of like this weird, that shouldn't be possible, because we learned in school about dominant genes and all of that stuff. But it turns out that there's something about gene expression. And so you can have a set of genes, but it doesn't mean that they get expressed. It's kind of like if you have a really super cute, provocative little black dress and a pair of high heels in your closet, but you never ever wore them. Nobody knows you have them because you are not wearing them, you are not expressing them. So that's the way that I think about that. So there's the gene versus the expression of the gene. And then there's also a couple of other things that Aletha talks about, social factors and environmental factors. And these are huge. These are much more important and much more impactful and powerful as far as what happens to us and what we decide and who we become in the world than genes. For many areas, okay? And so I will just give an example of social. Think about the circle of friends that you ran with in middle school, and maybe it changed when you joined a sport team or another activity, and then high school and things like that. So just think of the different friends that you had and the influences that they had on you. Think about if you didn't have access to the sports or access to the extracurriculars, after school activities that you had, how that would have changed your options and who you became. So social factors, right? And then environmental factors too. And I was actually thinking, I'm reading a book, a biography of Mozart, and I got to thinking, everybody knows, and everybody knows Mozart. Lots of people love his music. I'm one of them. But I got to thinking, what if Mozart's dad was not a musician? He was a violinist and a court composer, and he got to be like a Kapellmeister, or however you say that, but he was deep into music, and he also was pretty obsessive about Mozart and getting him into music, like he got his older sister into music. Now, what if Mozart's dad was a mathematician? Do you think that we would all have these wonderful Mozart symphonies and operas and music that we recognize, but we don't even know who wrote it? Some of us, like me, probably not. So environmental influences, his dad was a huge influence on him, and his dad didn't give him his talent, but he allowed, again, the expression of the talent. So when we come to alcohol and drugs and these things that, is a running theme in this book, a lot of us go like, oh my gosh, alcoholism like runs in my family, and maybe I'm an alcoholic, or maybe my spouse is, or maybe, my brother is, or whatever. There are so many other factors that are way more important, that have a lot more influence. So I'm going to leave you with that. And I look forward to sharing tip 3 with you tomorrow. But happy Thursday and have a brilliant, wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.